Welcome to the Latin Explosion Show with me, DjTuli, and on tonight's episode we have none other than violinist, producer, composer, child prodigy, even an actor, and it's none other than AlfredoDeLaFé. Alfredo, great honor to have you with us this evening. How are you?
Thank you so much. The only thing that I will say, I'm not an actor. I'm not an actor. Started, but it wasn't to become an actor. It was so that I can be better on stage with my violin.
But you have acted in the past, right?
Yeah, I've been in soap operas, Azúcar, and things
Right.
like that. But that doesn't make me an actor. An actor is very dedicated to his craft, you know?
Sure, absolutely.
But I've been doing my music. I've been very blessed by life, by God, because I've been doing my music my whole life. I became a professional musician when I was 12 years old. I did my first Europe tour when I was 12 years old. And still doing I can still live from my music, so that's a privilege. And I still doing new things every day. Every day I try to reinvent myself. I try to do new things. Like
Yes.
recently,
Amazing. I mean, when you were 9 years old, you won a scholarship to go and study in Poland at the age of 9.
Yes, I did. And it was weird because when the first time I saw a violin was on television, I was 2 years old.
Wow.
I think it was real. I think it was the magic of television. Then when I was 4, I saw one in a store in Havana. And when I was 6 years old, my father got home with a violin he found in the trash, in the garbage trash.
Wow.
They didn't have any strings, I didn't have a bow. And my father was also AlfredoDeLaFé. He was the first Spanish-speaking singer to sing in La Scala opera in 1918, you know. And he was one of the persons that introduced Celia Cruz to music. So when I was born, it was Celia who baptized me. She was my godmother. So the first thing that I had with the violin was that, seeing it on television, then seeing it in the store. My father showing up with a violin he found in the trash. And then before Celia left Cuba, she gave me my first strings and a bow. She said, I give you this with a compromise that you take our music and our legacy throughout the whole world. And she blessed me because I've been to 95 countries so far.
Amazing.
So I started studying in Havana Conservatory. And then, but it was funny that the first day I showed up to school, my violin, I had it in a pillowcase. I didn't even have a case.
Wow.
And everybody started laughing at me. They bullied me, you know. And that day I always said to myself, I got to prove them wrong. And then a year later, I won first prize in the conservatory, and they sent me to Poland.
Amazing.
And then I came back to Cuba for a bit, and my parents had decided to leave Cuba, so we left. We left Cuba and we went to the United States. And also I was given a scholarship to Juilliard because I played Mendelssohn and Tchaikovsky concertos on Carnegie Hall, which nobody had taught me. I had that. I think I came from another life, you know. And they gave me a scholarship to Juilliard, but soon after, I've been given an honorary degree from Juilliard, but I wasn't there much because soon after I met Salsa, you know. It wasn't even called Salsa then, it was Cuban music.
Of course.
And what happened was that it changed my whole life. It totally changed my whole life once I started discovering what it was like to play with percussion, with the Cuban, Afro-Cuban percussion, and to play things that had different kind of swing to it. I was trapped there, and I'm still trapped by Latin music. Latin music is in my heart. And not only I started doing good music, I also started as using drugs, which almost cost me my life. Which later I want to tell my story how I began using drugs and how I was able to get out.
Wow. Amazing. Now, we'll talk about that in a minute, and thank you for being so open about that stage in your life. But when you were only 12 years old, you started working with Jose Fajardo.
First with Pupi Legarreta, who was my mentor. He taught me how to play.
Right.
And every day of my life, I'm grateful to him. He's still alive. He's quite old already. He's probably in his 90s, you know. And And then Fajardo was my other mentor. Fajardo taught me the roots of my music. I think Fajardo was one, to me, the greatest flautist that ever lived in playing Cuban music, playing that charanga format, you know. And he told me he was very strict. He used to beat me, you know. With the flute, you know. So he would tell me, take a solo, and I would take a solo. Ah, so you think you know it all, right? And he would get on my case really, really bad, you know. But it's another person that I thank every day of my life for what he taught me. He taught me the roots of my music, and he did it so well, you know. That was like, Fajardo to me is like a father. Fajardo to me is like one of the greatest person I ever encountered in my life. When you speak to musicians about Jose Fajardo, there's no one single person that's going to say anything bad about Fajardo because everybody loved him. He had a smiling. He had a charisma like no one else had. And he was a master of his craft.
Amazing. That's beautiful. And that was, how many years did you work with him?
On and off. I started with him when I was 12, and then I kept playing, and I went off. I finally I got a little tired of him being so tyrant that he wouldn't let me go off any notes. So I said, I quit. And I went playing. I started playing with other people. You know? I started playing with all different charangas. Always playing in a charanga band. And during all the time, I was playing with Fajardo, and we started doing jam sessions every Tuesday, called Tuesday Night Jam Sessions, at a place called Ambini's in the east side of New York. And it was some of the Ray Barreto's musicians, and it was also Soli Bravo and I from Fajardo's band. And we used to play for the door, whatever we collected the door. At the end of the night, we would go and go to Chinatown, and would eat there, would laugh till morning came, you know. We always used to get out of that restaurant like at 7, 8 in the morning. And that band, all of a sudden, it got very popular. Those jam sessions would be lines around the block to see us play. And they decided to make a band they were going to call Típica 73.
Yes.
It's one of the best. And I decided, told me, listen, I have a gig in Florida. Let's go to Miami to play. I never liked Miami. I'm a guy. I like to be, I'm happy when I'm in London, for example, because it's the noise, the energy, you know, the electricity. Yes. And yet Miami was very relaxed, very flat, palm trees everywhere. So it didn't quite go with me, you know. So I went, instead of being with Típica, I go with Fajardo to Miami, and we worked 6 nighs in this bar of a hotel. It was the most boring thing. It was hate to be playing, and here comes a waiter with a steak, with a smoking steak, with the smell of food, and I'm playing, you know, it's like it didn't go with me. And I will be playing for a magician, for an imitator, for a juggler, and it was very boring. And Típica 73 comes out, and they come out with 2 songs, and these 2 songs became an instant hit. I would be in my car, and I would be listening to a radio station, and I hear Mañoño from Típica. Oh, my God. I change the station, and I hear the other song. Everywhere, the boss, the guy in the hotel say, listen, you guys got to play these songs that are now popular from Típica. And I'm saying to myself, and I'm not there, you know, what did I do? That was wrong. And so I didn't stay too long in Miami. I couldn't take it. And I went back to New York.
Right.
The thing I did when I came back is go back to Típica and say, listen, guys, I'm back. And they say, okay, we'll have a meeting to see if we want to welcome you here. And they tell me, listen, you weren't here when we formed it, and you didn't want to be here, so now we don't want you, you know? And I said, wow, I was down, but then it gave me the opportunity to start playing with everybody. I started playing with Imai Miranda, I started playing with I would go to Fania studios and record every day. Sometimes I would have 2 sessions a day.
Wow.
And that's where I met Andy and Jerry Gonzalez, which are 2 of the greatest. They both died. Jerry died a year and a half ago in a fire. There was a fire in his house in Madrid. He died from that. And Andy died from diabetes a little while ago. So I started hanging out at Andy and Jerry's house. And we would go there, and there would be records piled from the floor to the ceiling, wall to wall, and all kinds of instruments. So we would say, I would sleep there sometimes days. I would sleep on the floor, and I would, first in the morning we would listen to the best jazz, analyze music, and then in the afternoon people would start coming. In one afternoon you could have Mongo Santa Maria,
Wow.
Patato, the trio of the best congueros playing, and we would start jamming. Miles Davis would show up with his trumpet. You know, Dizzy Gillespie would come, and we started jamming there, and we were young, you know, we were just looking to spread our wings, and that made it so beautiful. And they used to play with Eddie Palmieri's band. And
Right, yes, I was gonna say.
And one afternoon, Eddie called, I was there, and he said, listen, Chocolate Mentero,
Yes.
he got sick. So I need a sub. And they said, listen, there's a friend of ours here that plays violin. Can we bring him? And he said, yeah, sure. So I go to Eddie's band. Here I come from charanga band, very sweet, very subtle. I was one of 3 violins. And when I get on that stage and I hear Eddie's band had Victor Paz and Chocolate Menteros on trumpet, Barry Rogers and Jose Rodriguez on trombones, and Mario Rivera and Ronnie Cuber on baritone sax. Instead of being a charanga section that is very light, they had Nicky Marrero on timbales, Jerry Gonzalez on conga, Chucky Lopez on bongo, Andy on bass, Andy Gonzalez, Eddie Mike Quintana.
Wow.
When I heard that band behind me, it felt like a lion, like this, with its mouth fully open, you know? And I was like, wow, what is this? And as soon as we played the first song, Eddie get off the piano and tells me, do you want to work with me? And I said, sure. And he shook my hand and he said, I pay you so much on weekdays, so much on weekends, and when we go traveling, I pay you so much. And we made a contract with a handshake.
Wow.
And for 5 years. That was another blessing in my life, because Eddie let me be the first solo violinist. He said, and back then there was no electric violin, so I would buy tape recorders and put the mics inside, trying to get a different sonority, you know?
Wow.
Noise. Then I started covering the F holes of the violin, and until I came out with a sound. And he said, listen, I'd rather you make all the mistakes you can make because you're searching for something new, that you don't make mistakes because that you don't search because you
Yes.
afraid of mistakes. And he opened my mind. I started buying all the pedals that they use for electric guitars and putting it on my violin. I became the first electronic violinist, and Eddie gave me the opportunity to do that. And I bless him. I think there's not another piano player in the world that plays like Eddie Palmieri. Today, I'm 81. He's amazing. He takes you by the hand and takes you flying. He plays. And we go flying all over the universe, man, when we play together. And it's such a beautiful thing. And I did the first Latin album that ever won a Grammy, which is called Son of Latin Music, where there's a song, Un Día Bonito, and I played on Nada de Ti and Nunca Contigo solo, and it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience to that time. We're talking about the 70s now.
Yes, and I mean, from that opportunity that Eddie Palmieri gave you to be the first soloist violinist, to now making violin one of a very important instrument in salsa as well, is incredible. So you were the very first solo violinist in salsa.
On a big band, yes. You know, and then what happened? We went to San Francisco. The whole band went. Eddie came back to New York. I stayed in San Francisco. Had a little time playing with Santana, which was another experience.
That was in 73, right? 1973?
I'm very bad with dates and with years. and yeah, it was about 74.
Right.
And finally, I get called from Johnny Rodriguez, who was the leader, the financial. Típica 73 had 2 leaders. Sonny Bravo was the musical leader, and Johnny Rodriguez was the financial leader. Johnny Rodriguez, one of the best bongo players that ever lived. He's been playing with everybody since Tito Rodriguez, Tino Puente.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he has a big, big, big story. And he calls me and he tells me, listen, Típica 73 broke. We're making a new Típica, and I need you here.
Wow.
At that time, New York was smoking with the Latin music. So I didn't think twice. I went back to New York and we made the new Típica 73 with Tito Allen, with Nicky Marrero, with that. Because the band has split in two. And the other part of the band made Los Quimbos, which didn't last too long. And I started playing with Típica. We make some of the greatest music ever. To me, this is one of the best bands. I remember Machito and Mario Bauza standing in front of Típica, pulling their hair because they see how good this music was. And I'm talking about two of the toughest critics of music in New York, Machito and Mario Bauza. Mario Bauza would tell anybody, listen, do something else, but don't do music. He didn't care. He was about it. And Típica would be a charanga, all of a sudden turn into a conjunto, all of a sudden into a big band. We did such great music. We all went to Cuba. We were the first band that broke the United States blockage to Cuba. We went there.
Oh, really?
Wow. We did an album called Intercambio Cultural, cultural exchange, and we did such good music. Típica was one of the best. Still today, everybody that knows about salsa would recognize Típica, one of the best bands ever.
Amazing.
From Típica, I went to play with Tito Puente.
Yes. You were the musical director for that band?
Dandy Rodriguez left. I took over the musical leading of the band. It was a very small group. It was Jorge Alto. First was Eddie Martinez, then Jorge Alto on piano. First was Andy Gonzalez on bass, then Michael Viñas, Patato Valdez.
Oh, wow.
It was only 5 musicians. But what happened? All of a sudden, we weren't doing shows for people dancing. We didn't have to please a dancer. We were pleasing an audience, a jazz audience.
Right.
Festivals and sit to listen. So that made it possible for us to stretch our solos, to be more musical than danceable, although our music is always to dance.
Yeah.
We did like 40 countries playing all over the
Oh, wow.
And this small group was one of the, and Tito taught me so much. Tito taught me about being a professional. Tito taught me that being a musician is not something that you take lightly. Being a musician is like being a doctor. You have to take it seriously. And he always did. He's one of the musicians that ever lived. Tito, as an arranger, as a vibraphone player, as a timbalero, as a human being, he's another person that I never, ever, ever, ever forget.
Wow.
And that was beautiful. But then, like I said, I was talking before about my drug addiction.
Right.
I started using drugs at 12.
No, at that early stage.
I started playing with these guys all over the world. And at first, they would go on breaks and leave me alone. And I would think they didn't like me. I said, oh, they don't like me. It was that they used to go and get high on the breaks.
Oh,
so like 4 days later, they told me, hey, you want to come with us, man? You want this? You want to try? And I said, yeah, I want to be accepted. So I said, yeah, for sure.
Wow.
And I tried and I stayed there for over 20 years. Over 20 years that it almost cost me my life. I started doing it little bits to have fun, but you know what it is like with drugs. Drugs take advantage, and it's a snowball running down a mountain that it starts to get bigger and bigger.
Yes.
And taking away everything that's on its way, family, friends, everything. I was so much into drugs that one night I went partying with somebody that I didn't even know
Oh my goodness.
And the police came into the house and the house was full of drugs. And I ended in jail.
No.
And I said to I didn't know how. All of a sudden, one day I was having fun, the next day I was in a cell. And I said, my God, what's going on?
How old were you then?
That was in 1980. I was born in 1954.
Yes.
So I was 24 years old.
Wow.
26, I'm sorry. And it was a nightmare. I was there for 8 months. Nightmare. That's when you really meet the devil. You know?
Yes.
Inside a jail.
But it taught you, I guess, gave you time to really think what you wanted to make of your life.
But you know what? When you're an addict, it's weird. When I was in there, I was promised every day to God, get me out of here. I would never have another line of cocaine. All right? I came out and my friend came to pick me up and he gave me a bag. He said, hey, I said, no, 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 no. I promised that I would never have it. I said, go ahead. And I kept using, you know, it's like,
oh my goodness.
When you are an addict, you try to bargain with God. You try to bargain with your family. You try to bargain with everybody. And it's not about that, you know. So what happened when I saw myself in really deep crap, deep trouble, I left the country. I fled New York and I came to Colombia.
Right. That I was gonna ask you because you know, researching, it said that you were meant to go to Colombia for 3 weeks and then you ended up staying there.
When I saw that I was my lawyer called me and said, listen, they're going to give you 15 years to life.
50 what, sorry?
They're going to give you a sentence of 15 years to life in prison.
Oh my goodness.
That meant 15 minimum, life maximum.
Yes.
But in 5 years, you give me more money, we appeal. The day I left that jail, which I left on bail, I said to myself, I'm never coming back here. So that's when I bought a plane ticket and came to Colombia.
Right.
I was afraid at first. When I got to Colombia, I had a song called Somos los Reyes del Mundo, and it was the biggest hit in this country. It's a song that still today is being played. It's played all over the world and all over the Latin radio stations. So I came to Colombia and I started working right away. I made a band. I was very respected when I got here, and they saw me on television. Everybody went nuts.
Wow.
A lot of good things, but I was still using. In 1985, John Paul II, the Pope,
yes,
came to Colombia. I was living in Medellin, and the mayor of Medellin told me, listen, I want you to play for the Pope. And I said, oh, holy mother. You know, I said, when I kneel in front of the Pope and he touches my head, I'm going to quit drugs.
Wow.
I was convinced. I prepared myself for 2 months. The record company that I recorded for made special editions of my records for the Pope. I knew what I was going to play, what I was going to say, but most of all, I knew that I was going to quit drugs as soon as he touched me. And what happened was that 2 days before, the night before my meeting, I said, okay, I'm going to have the last drink, because after tomorrow, my life is going to change.
Yes.
I got high, I got drunk, and I never showed up for the Pope. You
what? You never showed up?
Made it. I never made it. And I stayed partying for 5 days. When I woke up, the Pope was gone. But I was filled with messages. First, people being worried. What's wrong? Anything happened? And then saying, you this, you that, you didn't come. And I woke up to the mirror and I looked at myself. And when I see myself, I got so scared because I looked like the worst crap you can ever imagine. I looked worse than a rat. And
wow.
That really scared me. And I got close to the mirror, and when I saw my eyes and I looked inside my soul, it was worse.
Wow.
And there the Pope touched me without even touching me physically. That was when I looked for help.
Wow.
And into Narcotics Anonymous, to a program. The people say that I should mention that because it's anonymous. I always mention it because I know that right now somebody's watching that has drug problems, and I can tell that person that if I was able to quit, they'd be able to quit too. And that on the side, life is much better. So I started my rehabilitation. It was hard. I used to hit myself against the wall. But little by little, I came out. Little by little, I was free of that slavery that is drugs, you know. And still to today, I used to go to the pusher every day to buy drugs. Now I go to a new pusher. That is the groups where you find rehabilitation and where you can help others.
Fantastic.
Instead of buying drugs, I buy sobriety, and that is beautiful. Needless to say, I was living in Colombia, and Celia Cruz called me and said, I need you to make me a band in Europe. That was in 1996.
Right.
And I moved to Italy. I went to Italy. And we started working. I mean, the first year I was in Italy, we did over 150 shows.
Wow.
And working as AlfredoDeLaFé, also backing up Celia Cruz, and we started to back up a lot of artists. So Alberto Canario, Giovanni Hidalgo, Dave Valentin. We worked all over the world, and we even did Pavarotti and Friends.
Amazing.
We worked in Monaco for Prince Príncipe Alberto, Carolina Estefania, and we did Bal de la Rose, the Dance of the Rose, and we did the most interesting concerts. I remember we did one time 30 countries in 40 days with Celia.
No way.
I mean, we'd be all like dead, and she'd be the first one dancing and joking in the morning, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And then in 2002, I hired a lawyer, and I came back to the United States, and I turned myself in.
Really?
You know, I had over 300 letters of people saying that I was a clean person, that I have been in rehab, and all this, and I was able to fix my problem. I was given probation, I was given restitution, I had to pay some money, but I came back to my country. My country right now is Colombia, you know, but I was raised in the U.S., so I came back to the U.S. I still hold my American passport. I still go back. I keep going back continuously to see my mom.
Yes.
My mom was supposed to be 99 years old, and on April 5th, she died from COVID-19.
Oh no, I'm so sorry to hear. Wow.
Well, I know the good things about her. And I'm free. I'm free from drugs. I'm free from problem with the United States Justice. I'm free to do what I love doing the most, music. This whole thing came about, and when this whole thing came, I said, how am I going to play again?
Wow,
but
yes.
You always have to be on top of things. I started doing virtual parties.
Really?
I go on internet, people come, sometimes 200 people go in.
No way.
And they connect, and they toast, they dance, they laugh, and I tell them stories. I tell them like funny stories, like the time I saw Celia Cruz without a wig, that it was very funny.
Oh, tell us, you have to tell us that story.
Imatra, which is in the polar circle, very high above Finland, and we were in a hotel. The electricity went out, and I come out in the hallway, and I hear Celia's voice. It's all dark. They say, hey, my God, so what happened? I said, I don't know. The light went out, and the elevator came up, which had electric power, you know.
Uh-huh.
And when the doors opened and the light hit her, she didn't have a wig. She had little butts, you know.
Oh.
I was trying not to look at her head while I talked to her, but it was impossible. My eyes just went there, you know. So I said, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna see what happened, and I'll be right back. And when I get on the elevator, before it closed the door, she said, hey. I said, yeah, tell me. She says, you haven't seen anything, you know? She tells me that. No, of course, I would never tell her. I've told everybody.
Aww.
Then things like that, when I hit Tito's shoes on an airplane, and you have to go through custom in Algeria, which is a Muslim country where everybody's so strict, and he came without one shoe on at this limping, you know. And stories like that. So that's what I tell people when I play, and I play all kinds of music with a very good sound, and they enjoy it like crazy. And I've been doing that, and
awesome. So we have to follow you and let us know when you come in live, or we'll keep an eye anyway and make sure we join that party.
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter as @AlfredoDeLaFé. Okay.
Fantastic.
Please, I want everybody to follow me because we've been doing very interesting things.
Yes.
Even jokes, you know.
I mean, you have done in your musical career, you've done over 42 albums, with your first album being nominated for 3 Latin Grammys. Now, even this year, you've just released an album and you've just released a single. So, I mean, you've been busy.
Always. This is my life. And I think that this is my mission, is to bring happiness to people, especially now, you know, that we're all closed, that everybody's afraid, everybody don't know what to hope for.
Yeah.
And this is the most important time for music to be in their lives. Music, films, everything. You know?
Yeah.
Because, for example, here in Colombia, the government has not given a penny to artists. There's a lot of artists that are starving in the street.
Wow.
That's very, 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 to me, is very sad. But
yeah, the arts are suffering across the world right now.
And I've been working on my web, you know, I've been working on my all my sites, because my wife is the one that does it. She's an actress. I'm not an actor. She's a great actress.
Right.
Communicator, social communicator, and she also does community. She's my community manager. She does.
Oh, beautiful.
And my all my Instagram, Facebook is going up. You know, and we're doing funny things.
Good things.
I tell people stories about salsa, things that I only know, things that I only live because I was there with them, you know. And we also give hope to people. We do a joke every Friday. You know, it's
okay, but you have to share. You've shared the story about Celia. You want to share a joke with us as well?
No, I'm very bad to tell jokes, you know.
No, I won't put you on the spot then. And I'm terrible at telling jokes myself.
To English, you know. Very hard to translate.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they don't quite translate the same way.
And we're there. We're doing it, and it's happening. And I'm happy. I think I'm not making as much as before, but I'm working harder now. With this new song that came out, I'm doing all this television interviews, radio, press, everything.
It's good. It's good to keep busy.
Of course.
It's challenging times, so let's keep busy.
I'm 66 years old already, you know, so.
Wow.
I still got to go at it full head, you know, but we try to stay healthy. Try to stay healthy in the mind, too.
Yes.
The moment is very, very, very rough to do it. You know, a lot of people, they're afraid. They don't have hopes. They don't know what's going to happen. And I think there's two ways to see it. One is to see, oh, this is a tragedy. I'm being punished. And the other one is to see it as an opportunity to
opportunity, absolutely.
And out of those opportunities, very good things can come out.
Yes.
That's the way we try to see it, you know.
Saying about keeping yourself busy, so you've just released a single called Barranquilla Tiene Fe, or Barranquilla Has Faith. So you want to tell us, you know, the story behind that track?
Yeah, when I came back, my mom died. I was very sad, and I also needed faith, and I also needed hope. And my last name is DeLaFé, of the faith.
Yes.
Barranquilla was going through the worst. It was the worst in Colombia because people didn't take care of themselves. People were still partying, and then all of a sudden the COVID went crazy, and everybody started dying. Everybody's feeling the hospital. There was no more hospitals, no more intensive care units available. Wow. And my friends from Barranquilla said, listen, why don't you write a song telling the world of Barranquilla it's a great place, that the people from there, they have the courage, they have they push forward always. So I decided to write this song, and it came out easily. I started writing from top to bottom, you know, and it came in once because I was needing that faith too. And I didn't speak about COVID-19. I didn't speak about virus. I didn't speak about death. I spoke about happiness, about how Barranquilla is a city that has faith, about how los costeños, which is mean the people from the coast, they're very hard raised, and that's where Joe Arroyo came from, you know. That's where a lot of great singers and great musicians came from. And we did the song, and everybody loved it. Everybody loved it because it's a happy song.
Yes, and it's now available. It's available on all platforms, right?
All my music is available on Instagram. I'm sorry, in Spotify, Deezer, in Apple Music. They can find my whole catalog.
You've done everything. A couple of years ago, you did a tango album.
I did a tango with Son Cubano. I went to Argentina, and I heard tango, and I wanted to play tango, but they are classical violinists. They're great. And I'm a percussionist of a violin. I play violin like a percussion instrument. So I said, I cannot do this. There's no way I can play this. And somebody said, no, tango has Cuban roots. Some of its roots is from Cuba, so try to play like Cuban music. And I did, and it went well. I went all over the place, and people loved it. So when I came back, I said, let me do an album of tango with Son Tangueros. And it was a great album. I also did a vallenato album here in Colombia.
Yes, I was going to say, so you're vallenato as well.
I like to do all kinds of music. I think it's beautiful. And the folklore here in Colombia is amazing. It's amazing. It's, the people here, the way they play the accordion here, I've never seen it anywhere in the world. Anybody play like that. And it's beautiful. And I also did a project called Melao,
Yes.
the electronic salsa.
In 2018.
I was in a Fania concert, and Johnny Pacheco, Ruben Blades pulled me to the dressing room and said, "Hey, why don't you try changing salsa?" You know, when we did salsa in the 70s, the young people were tired of the music of the Palladium, the suits, and we came out with a New York sound, street sound,
Yes.
that made them go crazy. Not only that, they went back to listen to the music of the Palladium because that was the root. Yes. And this is the purpose of Melao, is having the young generation have something with the sonority that they can identify with without mixing it with anything. It doesn't mean that I have to put reggaeton and salsa together. I'm not talking bad about reggaeton. I think that's very good. You know? It's two types of music, good and bad music. And as long as they do it with professionalism and as long as they do it with love, you know?
Yes.
And what we did is we took all the sounds of the salsa and we started transforming the sound we transformed those sounds into electronic sounds. And
right.
It went well. It went really, really, really well, you know? And that's another thing that's available that they can listen to. And then I said, let me do some Latin jazz with electronic, but it's not with beats. I'm not recording beats and putting them and throwing everything. No, it's electronic played live, you know?
Really? Wow.
Matter of fact, I was called from a program from BBC and they said that it was one of the best albums. They thought it was one of the best albums.
Amazing.
This year. And so I also invite people to listen to that.
Yeah, so that came out just recently. And it's called Jazz Electrónico, so check it out, AlfredoDeLaFé.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I hope to be back. I hope to be back to Europe very soon, especially in London. When I lived in Italy, my favorite place to go was London because it felt the closest to New York. And I wasn't able to go back to New York. So whenever I was there, the way the people spoke, the way the city felt, the energy was so like New York. So I felt very, very, very nice every time I went there.
Oh, yes, please let us know when you come to London. That'll be amazing.
Soon, like you said.
Yeah, fingers crossed this will be over soon and then we can have all these amazing bands back playing for all of us. We are desperate here to go dancing and dance to a live band. That would be amazing. Alfredo, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this evening, and I wish you all the very best for the future. And yes, so we will be definitely checking out your new single and your new album, and wishing you all the very best. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us this evening.
La música, que viva la música. And you know, that's the best thing that can happen to humanity is music, is arts. Thank you, Tuli.
Thank you.